Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are in self-isolation again, and I've been self-isolating for about a week and a half now, and I thought it's time that I do something with my hair. I don't know if you guys know, but I pretty much cut and dye style my own hair, and I've been doing this for decades. But just so you know, this is not going to be a style cut. This will just be a trim on an existing style. So whenever I do want a style cut, I usually go to a salon, get that professionally done. But if I'm just maintaining and just getting rid of split ends and just giving it a freshen up and a bit of a trim, then I sort of do that from home. So I thought I would bring you guys along to show you how I trim my own hair. And if you want to see a video on me dyeing my hair, I will put a link for that as well when that comes out. Right, well, I hope you guys are doing well in your self-isolation. I hope you're not stressing too much. Keep off, you know, all the social media and news sites and that sort of thing. Really good to stay connected with friends. Make sure you're FaceTiming them or do a Zoom meeting. If you're gonna have drinks on a Friday night, you can do that over the internet. So don't let this virus stop you from doing those things. Just be aware that you shouldn't be out and about. Okay, so with that all said, what I've done is I have straightened my hair. It's because it gives you an accurate cut, you know. We're gonna be cutting it dry, and I do this because I can really see what I'm doing when I'm doing it dry. So I'm going to take you into the bathroom now and we are going to get started. Okay guys, we are in my bathroom. I hope that you can get a good look. I hope I'm putting you in the right spot so you can see. Now, first things first, make sure you clear the floor of any mats or towels or floor mats or anything like that, because any hair that's going to fall down is going to basically stick, and it's going to be a pain in the bum to remove it and wash it and etc, you know. So just remove them out of the bathroom first. This towel in the background is fine because it's quite a fair way in the background. I'm reaching my hand out and I can't touch it. Make sure you're in a rag top, so in a top that doesn't mean a lot to you. If you get covered in hair, then it's not going to really matter. I've deliberately chosen a white top because I wanted to be able to show you what I'm doing, and I thought if I had a black top on, you wouldn't be able to see. Now, your tools. I basically have a pair of scissors. These are just a cheap pair, a stainless steel pair that I think I bought from the chemist once. They work great. I always like to have this little thing because it makes it so much easier to cut. I have some thinning scissors, which I'm not sure if I'm going to be using today, but basically, I don't know if you can see, they kind of look like this. I do have one of these razors, and sometimes I do that around the fringe, but I'm going to try a different method today. So I might be grabbing those. Make sure you got a clip to clip up your hair, and you also need a comb. So I'm using this one, and I'm using this side with like the finer combs on it. All right. So first things first, we are going to separate the hair. Now you can sort of see here that my hair is layered. So there is some, I'm going to part it in the middle, right down here, right down the back. And I'm going to get the hair so none of the hair is sitting behind me, it's all in front. So I'm going to separate my hair. I'm going to separate just above my ears. Just make sure I twist this out of the way on the top of my head like that. Making sure this is nice and separated. So I'm going to separate it again, and I'm not going to go above the ears now that I've grabbed the hair. Everyone's different, but okay, let's make a rule that it's about an inch. So you want to take an inch of hair at a time, inch, 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 inch of a row, right? Inch all the way around. So I'm going to put this, I'm just going to split this in half because I've just taken that little bit too much. All right, so we've got an inch layer here, and what you're going to do is basically, you got to think of it like this. I'm laying it flat, and I'm going to trim like that. So, but you're going to take, I'm going to take this in two pieces. I'm taking the one directly at the back, and I'm just pushing it directly at the front, like that. I've got this wispy bit in the end, and I'm just gonna cut a couple of centimeters straight across. That's what I've just done. Can you see that? Straight across. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to break it up a little bit so it's not so blunt. Like that. We'll see how that looks in a second. That's the short bit, so I'm gonna ignore that bit. And then we're gonna do this bit. Now, I need to tell you guys, before you start hacking up your hair, that I'm not a trained hairdresser, okay? Only take this as advice from one girlfriend to another. Do not do this if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't believe that it's going to work, you know. Just doing the same thing. I just cut off about an inch, but it's still long, right? You can see it's still long. It's just looks a whole lot tidier. Now I don't like cutting out like this. I do at the top, and you'll see when I do that, I do it up. But cutting out sort of gives you a weird layer, so you've got to be really careful. So I do it like this, layer by layer, and then I just cut in to make sure it's not super blunt. Alright, now I'm going to do the other side. I'm just going to separate these into two. Okay, so the first one, I'm just going to... Now I don't want to cut my hair too short. I don't want a big trim. I just want a really, really short trim. Like so short in fact that nobody notices. That's how short I want to trim it. Because I still want to look the same. I just want my hair to be healthier. What I also like to do is when I'm going layer by layer is check that both layers are the same. Alright, so now we've done that, I'm going to tie up this hair. I'm going to use one of these. These are going to be very, very big, but it'll be fine once we get more and more hair in there. I'm tying that layer up because I don't want that layer to interfere with the next layer when we're cutting. I just want it to be one layer at a time. You can sort of see there, I've tied my hair up. Now we're going to pull down another layer. Same thing. This really only works if you've got long hair, guys. If you don't have long hair, I wouldn't be suggesting this. But what I like to do is when I'm getting a bit higher here, I like to grab it from the side. Can you see that I'm grabbing it like a sheet? And then I'm pulling down. Okay? So grab it like a sheet, pull, and then you've got what you need to cut. Now you can sort of see there it's in a bit of a slant, so the hair is sitting like that where my scissors are. So I need to kind of cut it the same. Clean off the ends. This one I didn't have to separate into two. See that? So that one's done. But when I push it to the back, see how it's a little bit layered? There's this bit here that's shorter than the back bit. So this outer side will be shorter than the underside. That's basically because it's the way I cut it and the style of my hair. But it's fairly even when you're sort of pulling it at the front. So if you're cutting it straight here, like if you cut straight, when it goes to the back, it's not going to be straight. It's going to be like angled, you know. This side is a little bit chunkier. I hope I don't stuff it up. So watch this whole video before you start this, just in case. Because I really love my hair the way it is. I just need to clean up the ends a little bit. So this is a good way to clean up the ends. Now this side's a little bit longer, but I will say this, that I didn't catch it evenly at the back Like I took a lot more on this side than I did on this side. You can see, can't you, that I took more on this side because I didn't make it even underneath. Bad me. So I'm going to leave it as is there. I'm not going to trim it back like I would have because I didn't realize that I didn't take the right amount of hair. Okay guys, I'm finding that the blunt cut can be a little bit too blunt sometimes, so I'm just feathering it up. So you can sort of see here, I've grabbed my section and I'm just going to, basically I want to cut this bottom bit here, but instead of cutting straight across, I'm going to just cut up. So it feathers the ends without making it blunt. All right, that's great. Moving on. But I can't be the only one, can't be alone. Can't you see we're falling now? I need your love. But I can't be the only one, can't be alone. Can't you see we're falling now? I need your love. But I can't be the only one. Now guys, so I'm starting on the crown, and this really depends, how you do this really depends on how you wear your hair. I'll be doing it really quite centered because I wear my hair in the middle quite a lot, so I want that to be even on both sides. But if you wear your hair mostly to one side or all the time on one side, then you might want to just reconfigure these steps a little bit and separate the hair according to how you wear it. I also, guys, try and pull the hair the way that it's sitting. Once you start getting higher and higher, it's harder to do. Underneath here, it's easier to sort of pull out and cut. But when you're coming to the top part where it's actually going to be laying a certain way, it's a little bit more important to make sure you're pulling the hair. So I'm pulling the hair down backwards. Then I'm grabbing this end bit and bringing it to the front without pulling the hair, and then trimming like that. Now another thing to note is that if you don't have super thick hair like me, or if you want a really wispy, if you don't want a really wispy end, you want more of a blunt end, then when you're slicing in, don't slice in so high. I slice in like about an inch or two, sometimes 2 inches, like up, because my hair is so thick and I don't want that blunt thick look. But if you want that, then make these splits a little bit less, a couple of centimeters, instead of so wide like me. And then it should sort of give you the effect you want. But just try it out, you know, do a tiny patch underneath that you're not going to see. So now I'm onto a side piece, and I'm pulling it in on the side. You see that? Grabbing the hair, let me pull it a little bit more. Grabbing the hair and then bringing the hair to the front so I can cut it and see it. That's how we cut our hair at home. We've got to kind of adjust. We can't cut it exactly the way a hairdresser does because we can't see. And then when it sits, it should sit quite nicely because you've already tested, you've already pulled it to how it sits, if that makes sense. When you're cutting up here, once it drops, it looks completely different. So I just sort of don't like the guesswork, which is why I choose to do it this way. See, this is only like the tiniest piece. Now this is a back piece, so remember when you're up the top here, you don't want to be pulling it to the front, because that's going to give you a different cut to if it was sitting down like that. So you've got to kind of pull it back to where it's kind of going to be sitting, then bringing the ends to the front. This front bit, I might be trimming my fringe, my bangs, because I think I would like slightly shorter bangs. They're quite long at the moment and they don't style very well. So I might just trim them back, not too much though. And I also find that when you trim your bangs, your fringe, you end up looking like you've got longer hair. It's a bit of a trick. A lot of hair, like my ponytail is quite thick. That's why I have thinning scissors. I know a lot of people don't have the luxury of having thick hair. Okay, now that we're getting to the top, the cut of this is a little bit different because you want to make sure that each side is the same. So this layering technique that we're doing now has to stop. And we're going to change a technique and we're going to pull from the top and cut, and this way the layers will fall really nicely. So what I'm going to do is take the back, okay, so this mohawk here, I'm just going to take the back now we're going to do the same thing. I'm just going to pin this to the side because I don't really need to worry about the sides. Now we've got a thin bit of hair here. I'm gonna pull right up to the ends, okay? Then you're gonna grab that top bit and you're gonna do the exact same thing. This time though, I'm gonna chop it, the edges, and then when you drop it, there will be a little bit of a layer, okay? So you've got to remember that when it drops, it will drop in a layer. I'm going to try not to cut too much out of this because you can think that it's really long because it looks really long when you're trying to cut it, but in actual fact, it's not really that long. So you got to remember that when you're cutting, you're sort of going, wow, it's so long, when you're pulling it above your head. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing. That's falling fine. I will have another proper look at it when I kind of take all my hair out. So this one I've sort of, you can sort of tell that I've given up on clipping it. And this is mainly because it's sort of quicker for me not to. It's looking really good, not looking choppy. That's what you don't want, guys. You don't want it to look steppy and choppy. That's what we're trying to avoid here. And cutting a fringe is one of the most scariest things because you think it's going to work, and then it doesn't, and then you got to make it shorter, and whew, you know, you can sort of see there that one side is so much longer than the other. So I'm going to have to just even that up for starters. Okay. Wow, see how short it goes? You cut it and you think it's fine, and then it's like when it used to be like down here. It's so weird how hair does that. Okay, I do wear my hair on my sides sometimes, but see that? That's way too long. Whereas this side is not too long. That's probably the perfect length, I think. So we're going to use that as a guide. Now, why did one of those sides turn out? Interesting. So now I'm going backwards. I'm starting from the front and going backwards, and I'm just grabbing a chunk of hair because I kind of want to see where this was an old short fringe that has grown out, so I'm just going to ignore that section. See, if I cut this here and this falls, it's going to fall here and it's going to bounce a little bit shorter. So cutting an inch off is going to be too much, I think. I think it's going to be too much. The other method is to do it like this, which is also pretty good, because this is not going to make you do it too much. Look where that short bit's gone. Okay, so we're bringing it forward. I'm going to just slice into this, cutting about not my favourite way of cutting a fringe, I have to be honest, because when you push it to the side it changes, right? So when you're cutting it straight here, unless you're cutting it up here and sitting it straight, but if it's sweeping to one side, then you got to remember that part of it will be short and part of it will be long, so it will kind of layer like that. See? So let me just have a look at the side profile of this. What I hate is it to look like you've just had a haircut. That's what you don't want. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's a little bit shorter, but it's not too short. I didn't want to go too short because it's such a pain when it doesn't sit behind your ears. So that's pretty good. And it's like a good bob length. It's going to be a good length if I have my hair up and I want to pull out a few pieces to like the jawline. I think is pretty perfect. Alright, now it's time to take this all out and have a look at the damage. So hopefully you're not really going to notice a thing. That's the whole point, that you're not going to notice. It's going to be such a good cut that you don't even notice. Okay, now what I need to do is part it in the middle, because that's how I've cut it, just so that I can see that it's cut correctly. Like this. I mean, you can see a little bit of a step there. I need to take out, feather these ends. I'm going to take out my thinning scissors again, and I'm just going to cut this on an angle. And just kind of want to do this bit. This bit's kind of go up, but it doesn't cut every single one, you know? It kind of softens the cut. But don't go crazy with those scissors, because I have gone crazy one too many times. And I'm cutting upwards in an upwards motion so that it's not blunt. If you cut like that, there'll be a line. So do not do that. Okay, that's pretty good. This needs thinning. I can see that this is looking super chunky. Excellent. And when it's dry, you can really see it. If this was wet, I would not be able to see that. Okay, I'm just going to fix this side with all these steps so I can see one here. Comb out too, you can sort of see how long of pieces I'm cutting out. They're quite long, but there's only like, you know, one in every, you know, you're cutting a couple in every strand. Now, just going to do a little bit here because this is feeling super chunky. I can feel it, that it's really chunky. So I'm just going to chop. Alright, I think that is good. Okay guys, this is my hair cut. It is looking a little bit fluffy. It does need a wash, so I need to wash it so you guys can see the kind of whole effect. So you can sort of see there, you know, there are quite a lot of layers, and I've still kept my layers. I haven't really cut extra ones. I've just trimmed back the ones that I do have. This is my normal hair. It doesn't really look like I've had a major cut. But it's a pretty good at-home job, you know. I'm not gonna say I'm a hairdresser, and I'm sure hairdressers would be like, no, what are you doing? But, you know, I don't find that anyone really notices. And this is it in full light. You can kind of see, I mean, it is messy. It's not styled, you know. I've just pretty much cut it and that's it. I think if I styled it, put a straightener in it, it would be the bomb. Well guys, I hope you learned something. I hope you're able to do this at home as well, and you know, sort of not worry about the fact that you can't go into the hairdresser. If you're nervous about it, if you don't think you can do it, then just don't. It's not really going to matter. But if you want to give it a go and sort of attempt to do it at home, don't think it's impossible. You know, I've been doing it for many, many years. Anyway guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in my next one. I hope you guys are self-isolating, keeping safe, keeping happy and healthy, and I will check you in the next one. Bye for now.